Hey, guess what? I'm the last one in the 49ers media room at Levi Stadium. So instead of waiting for another 20 minutes or so before I got home, I decided to do the live on my walk back to the car. But you guys, maybe we could do a little tour of the media room before we dissect the end of round two of the 49ers draft, or day two, rounds 2 and 3 of the 49ers draft. They picked up 3 new players. We're going to talk about Drake Jackson. We're going to talk about all those guys here in just a second, but this is exciting. I'm in the media room, and we'll let some of the people come. This is the TV where we watched the draft today, and the TV where Tim Kawakami watched the basketball game while he was covering the draft today, because I think he has to head to Memphis tomorrow morning. That's crazy. But yeah, my desk, it's one of these cubicles. There's some cool art on the wall. You can see Jerry Rice behind me. Everybody's desk, everything's looking good. I like the art over here. You guys will see the one that I really like, right by the coffee machine. The San Francisco 49ers Media Guide, 1971, inaugural season at Candlestick Park. This is where all the food is at, or was. They had a nice meal today. It was even better, though, on Thursday, but it was still good. I'm not complaining. Some more artwork. These are all previous media guides they put up on the wall. I think you might have seen Tom Rathman and Joe Montana way back there by the TV, way in the corner. I really don't feel like walking back that far, so we're going to start on our walk. We're going to start talking about the 49ers draft picks. They got Drake Jackson today. That was a good one. That was number 61 overall. Then they went to number 93 overall, and they picked Tyrion Davis-Smith, the running back out of LSU. And then they picked Danny Gray, number 105. That was one of the compensatory picks to end the third round. That was the final pick of the third round, Danny Gray. So exciting stuff for the 49ers. John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan said they were antsy earlier in the day, and you could see why they were antsy. I mean, these guys were just sitting there on their hands throughout the entire first round, and then throughout most of the second round before picking at number 61. That had never happened to the 49ers before. Normally, they were on the clock much sooner, especially last year. Remember, they traded up to number 3 to get Trey Lance. I mean, the climactic moment of that 2021 draft came like 5 minutes in. Well, this time they had to wait hours throughout the entire first round, throughout most of the second round. And then finally they picked Drake Jackson, the USC edge rusher, at number 61 there toward the end of the second round. Now, John Lynch said today that in the case of Drake Jackson, he was tempted to trade up throughout most of this second round to be able to grab Drake Jackson. But the 49ers and John Lynch ended up being very happy that he was patient enough to not trade up at any point during the second round, because it would have required the 49ers to give up either pick 93 or pick 105 to move up to nab Drake Jackson, and that would have cost them a chance to get the running back Tyrion Davis-Smith or the receiver Danny Gray. So patience paid off for the 49ers. And let me tell you something about Drake Jackson. Dane Brugler, he's like our resident draft expert at The Athletic. Dane Brugler, on May 4th of last season, made a mock draft after the 2021 draft. He mocked Drake Jackson number 7 overall, top 10 pick. And the 49ers got him at number 61 today. So what the hell happened with Drake Jackson? Well, it's complicated, but remember that USC had a failing coaching staff that got fired in the middle of this past season with Clay Helton. And remember that failing coaching staff made some personnel errors. And one of the personnel errors was probably with Drake Jackson. They had him be in the 240s playing an outside linebacker position, when, in fact, Drake Jackson, as a freshman in 2019, was at 270 pounds, and he was dominant. He was a freshman All-American back in 2019. Then the coaching staff that's since been fired at USC had Drake Jackson lighten up to a speed rushing role in the 240s, and he was plagued by injuries And even though his pressure rate was really good, it was still over 14%, even though Drake Jackson produced this past year. There's the 49ers Museum behind me. I'm parked far away, so about to go off here into this. I mean, this is sketchy, but hopefully nothing's going on out here. I'm losing some light. Anyway, anyway, Drake Jackson, even though he produced, you know, from the PFF pass rush productivity metric as a junior, he just wasn't as dominant as he was when he was playing at 270 a little bit earlier in his career. So the 49ers hope that you pair him with Chris Kasarik and he becomes the player that everybody thought he was going to be earlier during his time at USC. Now, Drake Jackson, he was just thrilled to be picked by the 49ers. He said that he was just jumping for joy. You could just tell he didn't even want to finish the press conference. I mean, most of these guys, they can't wait to get out of there as soon as possible, but Drake Jackson just wanted to soak it all in. And he was wearing a chain that had literally a model of the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum, like a scaled model. Obviously a smaller scale, not the size of the actual thing that seats 93,000 people, but it was the craziest chain ever. You can go check it out on my Twitter. And I liked his enthusiasm. It felt like Drake Jackson really cared about football. And then, you know, I started doing some of the research on him, and supposedly he's got a very strong work ethic. And the dude is just a freak athlete. The guy does like cartwheels and backflips and stuff. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, the wide receiver, was his teammate at USC. He comments on one of these Instagram videos of Drake Jackson doing a backflip, and he's like, there's no way that you are a defensive end. But yes, Drake Jackson is a defensive end, and I'm sure that Chris Kasarik can't wait to work with him. All right, so now on to Tyrion Davis-Smith, the running back out of LSU. A lot of the grades had this guy as like a 4th, 5th rounder, going a little bit lower in the draft, but the 49ers took him in the 3rd round. It's the 2nd straight year that the 49ers have picked a running back in the 3rd round. Trey Sermon was obviously the one in 2021. We haven't seen all too much of him yet. He dealt with some injuries last year. 49ers still have plans for Trey Sermon, according to what John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan said. So we'll see how that pans out. But they're just trying to build strength in numbers in that running back room. That's what it's all about for the 49ers there. Kyle Shanahan was so quick to point out today that the 49ers were only 4 weeks into the 2021 season when they had to start stealing running backs off other teams' practice squads just to field a competent roster on a week-in, week-out basis. Remember Jaquez Patrick? They had to raid him off somebody else's practice squad. So you just need bodies at that running back position, especially given the way that the 49ers play. Those guys are going to get hurt. And when you look at Davis-Smith, the guy can already pass block. He's sturdy as hell. He's 211 pounds. To give you an idea of, you know, how that compares to other 49ers backs, Elijah Mitchell played this past season at 212. And he looks bigger than Elijah Mitchell to me when you look at his LSU tape. It's probably because some college defenders are smaller. But Davis-Smith is immediately going to be a physical presence in the NFL. And because he can pass block, he's immediately going to see the field. So you're going to have Davis-Smith. You're going to have Elijah Mitchell, of course, as your lead guy for the 49ers. You're going to have Jeff Wilson on this team. You're going to have Trey Sermon. They still have Jermichael Hasty. Strength in numbers. That's how the 49ers have to operate at the running back position. Finally, we talk about Danny Gray, the receiver. This guy is a burner. 4.3 speed, played under Sonny Dykes at SMU. Put on his highlight tape on YouTube. I mean, tomorrow morning, I do this because I love you guys. As you can tell, I had to walk a long way from Levi Stadium. It's right behind me. The lights are on, though. They had a draft party tonight. I just wanted to get one of these in before people went to bed, so I wanted to do the live on my walk to the car. We play a day game after a night game tomorrow. The draft starts at 9 a.m., so I'm out of here at midnight. I got to be back here at 9 a.m. I promise that in the morning, I'm going to do the formal sit-down YouTube live in the studio lighting with the good camera and everything, and I'll show you guys some highlights, and we'll break this down even closer. So subscribe to the channel because we'll get further into this. But Danny Gray, without being able to show you film right now, I'll tell you, if you put on the highlight tape from SMU, he's way too fast for those Conference USA guys that he's running against. And I think Conference USA is the league where SMU plays. I really don't care, but I'm just trying to illustrate that Danny Gray played against subpar competition that wasn't fast enough to keep up with him in college. So that 4.3 speed is real. It was 4.3 electronically timed at the combine. He's lighter, right? I mean, he's 5'11", he's 186. This is not like a big, muscular wide receiver, but he plays a little bit stronger than his height and weight. And I think that was really important to Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch because, as I've said repeatedly, to be a receiver in this system, you have to be able to block. There are no exceptions. The days of Dante Pettis are over. That experiment failed for the 49ers. So anybody that they're going to add to that receiving room would have to have some physical metal to them, some physical toughness. And you put on the tape for Danny Gray, he's got a little moxie. He can actually block, even at 5'11", 186. And I'm sure once you put him in an NFL strength and conditioning program, he's going to, get a little bit bulkier. And he's going to be able to hopefully keep that speed. That's the goal. That's one of the 49ers' big mottos that I asked John Lynch about that today. I said, hey, what weight do you want Drake Jackson to play at? Because Drake Jackson played in the 240s last year, but then he was up to 273 at his pro day. Do you want him to be a 265 guy? Do you want him to be a 255 guy? He was 254 on one of those relative athletic score sheets. And John Lynch said, well, our philosophy is play as light as you can while still maintaining strength. So find that weight that's as light as possible so you can be as fast as possible while still maintaining strength. So all of these 49ers players, they're going to look to find that happy zone. And I'm so curious where that's going to be for Drake Jackson. I'm so curious where that's going to be for Danny Gray because obviously he wants to keep that speed. I mean, Danny Gray today, when I talked to him, he said, my specialty is blowing the top off defenses. I'm elite in the open field because I've got top-end speed. So you want to keep that top-end speed, but you also have to be able to port that physicality to the NFL level. All right, before I get into the car here, as you take a look at the parking lot, there's only a few cars left in the whole parking lot, but man, this is wild. Always here so late on these draft days. But let's talk bigger picture. The 49ers had 3 picks today. They still have 6 picks to go. So I'm sure, I haven't been on Twitter because I've been writing an article, but I am sure that people are freaking out about the 49ers not addressing this, not addressing that, upset they didn't trade up. It's just whatever. It's like, God, everybody calm down. Again, do not leave a Yelp review for the meal before the meal has actually been served. The 49ers have only made 3 of their 9 picks. There are still 6 picks to go. So there's an overarching component to an entire offseason and to a draft that you have to address before you freak out about every single individual move. We have to wait until the whole course is served. So tomorrow, I definitely would like to see the 49ers spend some picks on the offensive line. I think that, speaking of sketchy, my walk here was a little sketchy down the sidewalk, right? It was a little darker. It's like, okay, boy, I'm going to be walking down the street filming YouTube Live. Well, speaking of sketchy, the 49ers offensive line, I think that's in a sketchy position right now. I think they do need to make some investments up front. Ask John Lynch about it today. And when we asked John Lynch about it, he said, we are fully aware of our position on the offensive line. We're going to wait, though, and he basically said what I'm saying right now. We have a plan for it, and you'll see what that plan is tomorrow. We still have a lot of picks. So the 49ers still have 6 picks, so why don't we just pump the brakes on a lot of these knee-jerk reactions and see what happens moving forward. John Lynch also said that they did talk to Alex Mack over the course of the past couple days, and they got enough information, this is what he said, to be armed and ready for the draft. Now, they haven't picked the center in the draft, and all the premier centers are off the board, so who knows what that means. Maybe Mack is coming back, or maybe the 49ers already have a deal with a veteran like J.C. Treader or somebody like that in place. I really don't know. That's just what Lynch said today. He also said that the 49ers wouldn't trade Jimmy Garoppolo until they get an offer that they feel is fair for him. We also then heard from Kyle Shanahan on Deebo Samuel for the first time. And Yeah, I read this as the 49ers being very confident that they could find a way to get back on the same page with Deebo Samuel. And I guess I'll wrap up the show with thoughts on this, and I'll make more formal videos about this later. But it's kind of cool to talk with the stadium in the background. With Deebo Samuel, the 49ers have just called his bluff. And I'm assuming that Deebo Samuel's bluffing. I think Deebo Samuel wants money. I think he wants, A, the new deal, and I think, B, he's not going to be one that wants to sit out this season. A, he loves football too much. Guy absolutely loves football, and he does want to get paid this year, even if it is just on his rookie deal, because that still is money. It still is some kind of cash flow. And the 49ers, by not accepting any trade offers for Deebo Samuel, have essentially said, we believe that you're going to play for us this year. We believe that, any potential threat of a holdout or, you just not giving your all, we believe that's not going to be the case. We believe that you're going to be delivering for us on the football field this year. And Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, to me, today seemed way more relaxed than Lynch was on Monday. The 49ers have gone through the first 2 days of the draft where those trade offers for Deebo Samuel did show up. They obviously weren't competitive offers. The 49ers said, get lost. Hell no. Samuel's still on their roster. There's been receiver movement across the entire NFL, and everything is, status quo. Samuel's on the roster, and the 49ers, to me, seem like they want to make it work, and they think that this negotiation can find a similar endpoint as the Fred Warner and the George Kittle negotiations from the past 2 years. Whether or not that happens is TBD, but all I can tell you is that I feel that there was confidence from Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch that going to need happen moving forward. So those of us who stressed and emphasized that the 49ers' plan was to keep Deebo Samuel despite the ruckus that he was causing, despite, and I blame the agent more than Deebo Samuel. I talked about that in a video earlier today. A little bit of indication for staying calm, right, throughout this entire mess. The 49ers were never going to knee-jerk and ship off a player who was as valuable to them as Deebo Samuel. And now it's going to be about the people skills of John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan to make sure that they bring this all to a graceful landing and bring Deebo Samuel on board. All right, so that's the video about the 3 draft picks. Drake Jackson highlighted it for the 49ers, and then they get a running back, and they also get a receiver today, Danny Gray, exciting player with that 4.3 speed. And then Tyrion Davis-Smith is a physical running back that I think, one more thing about Davis-Smith and the physical running. Have you noticed the 49ers over the past 2 years between Sermon, who's got some physical stuff on tape at Ohio State, obviously Elijah Mitchell, farm guy who just blasts through people, who obviously is a physical runner, and now Davis-Smith. 49ers are going for some physical runners. We don't see just like the Matt Breida types, the 195 to 200 pound types. They're going for some real 210 pounders now. And I think that's a sign that the team is going to be running some more inside zone with Trey Lance, obviously, on some of those read option plays. I think that this offense is definitely changing. I think this offense is shifting toward the future with Lance, and it's an exciting future, and the 49ers are getting more physical with that run game up front. So that's what we learned today from the 49ers draft. There's going to be a whole lot more. Why don't you guys subscribe to the channel? Those of you who are new here, because I see a lot of viewers, just know that I don't normally do videos as janky as this, but I think it's kind of cool. I'm in the Levi Stadium parking lot late at night, about to get to my car. Wanted to give you guys a nice view of the stadium in the background, and we're going to have a more formal video tomorrow morning. So subscribe to the channel. We're going to have way more 49ers analysis coming for you soon. Everybody, good night. I'm about to go maybe stop at In-N-Out Burger on my way home. Take care.